Hi there. I was watching Karl Denniger on interview on Max Kaiser, and he's just his reasoning is just looping around in circles, and he doesn't really know what he's saying. He says that in order to have to stimulate the economy, you have to have savings, and you have to have capital for investment. Of course, the original meaning of capital is not for investment, but it's actually material that you use for production. Uh, but his reasoning is completely flawed. He can immediately see around himself that money is not. If the banks have money and they don't invest it in productive capacity, then sure enough it doesn't really help to have savings which will be in the possession of the banks and will then be invested in productive capacity. You also can see readily that there's so much fraud and vapor value in the economy that if banks would really want to, they could always make up some money, pretend there's a new innovative product that warrants millions and billions of investment, and they would be investing and they would create productive capacity. So he is and Max Kaiser are both skirting around the issue, which is the real issue. That's that there is no energy available to have the productive capacity. For that reason, the productive capacity and the production is not stimulated anymore. So 30% reduction in petrol use, in petroleum use in the US means that there's just less petroleum energy to go around. It's all hidden because the amount of money is contracted. Money has no value at all. And just to illustrate how savings do not mean more prosperity at all, you can immediately understand that if Norway sells all its oil, I've said it a couple of times, and sells it all and has lots of kroner savings and euro savings, at the end of the game they have no oil and they have billions and billions of euros and Swiss francs and dollars in the bank account, and it will mean nothing for their prosperity at all. They will have money in the bank account and be living on the street because they don't have the energy to run anything anymore. So the big mistake, and I think the protective measure that rabid and invested people make if they talk about the economy, even though they talk about gold, is that they want you to keep a distance from the actual creation of wealth, your own personal wealth. So if you are a city, you have a street, and you have a pizzeria or a baker, then it would be wise to own that bakery, and it would be wise to own the energy requirement of that bakery, or to make sure that that's supplied at as low cost as possible, because then you don't have any cost for your bread anymore. The baker bakes his bread, he doesn't have to pay the energy bill anymore, and you can get the bread for about 2/3 of the price or something like that, a fair price. So you have to start owning whatever the production facilities are. You have to make sure that those production facilities, for whatever you really need, are running at the lowest cost possible. That's simply not the game of the owners, because the owners want you to be deprived of ownership, deprived of power to own, of power to take over. It wants you deprived of an understanding of how to achieve ownership, which is not by saving, because if you save, you don't own any assets. You just own a lot of fiat currency, which you give to the bank, and the bank uses it with leverage in order to keep you to hit you over the head with all kinds of lobbying and other investments and demoralizing you. So it's a complete sadomasochistic game to be in a Keynesian economical model that Mr. Denniger adheres, and that Max Kaiser is also basically meeting into, because they both deny the energy equation, the energy factor. So that's my response, and it's really all about making sure that you reduce your own cost by helping each other out. And I said a long time ago, measures that can be taken is that you basically bail each other out in physical terms, in real terms. So help each other out with the basic needs, and make sure that you don't have any ties to financial institutions or whatever. Make sure that you don't use their assets. Make sure that you don't feed into any system that, or any product, or minimize that that deteriorates your health, so makes you like a ready patient for the medical system. Now, I personally now have a little bit of a problem with the quality of what I buy in the supermarket, because increasingly it has a ammonia taste to it, which was there are several aspects to it. First of all, and this is very personal, we have of course different types of pig, sausage, salami, and those kind of stuff. That's a traditional product, and it doesn't. There's two tastes that don't belong in that product. One is that of smoked salami. No, it's a smoke that flavoring of smoked salami is a carcinogenic product of the petrochemical industry, and they're basically selling it now to the meat packagers, and the meat packagers put it into our sausages and our salamis, and it tastes well. So people that are not aware of this are simply taking in these carcinogenic flavorings and buying those products. Apart from that, it's very salty and very fat, of course. So it's already a addictive product. The other one is ammonia. I just don't want to eat something and then have a slight taste or a scent of ammonia in for a long time, and that's new. That's basically new, because I'm now, if I buy ham and meat now, I have to see whether it's glued, because maybe I'm imagining it, but I had some complete artificial meat product recently, but the taste is not imagined. It's new, and that's just the deterioration in our country under the same influences. The need is the emergency, financial emergency is created, and then it's abused. And the only way you can get out of that is to take leave of that financial system. Make sure that you don't need investment. Make sure that nobody owns the assets that you need. That nobody can be a rent seeker, and that's very hard. In our country, it's even proposed now to sell land areas in our tiny country that are of our government in order to pay for the maintenance of nature reserves, which is a losing game, of course, and which is complete BS, because well, the banks can always make the money to buy that land speculatively or whatever. They can always make something up, and then they give a couple of million to our country, and those millions are used then to fund nature reserves. But it's much smarter, of course, to use those lands, those areas, and maybe sell some of them, a part of that, for a couple of million, and then put energy sources on them, and manufacture energy sources with energy sources on them. If you have a large land area, that's going to be commercialized and used for some other purpose anyway, and it's out of the way of where people live, which is hard to imagine in Holland, but we do have some areas that are less populated. Then those are perfect locations for wind farms. Put the wind farms there, give the money, that will be government owned, so the government will own the money, it will own the right to distribute productive capacity. And that's something that Denniger just doesn't get, or doesn't want to get, because he's protecting his own business. He wants to be in the paper game as long as possible. And that's his angle. He wants to be behind the screens and trading assets that are neatly for him, positioned for him. And then he knows that there's some mousetraps hidden, and he knows it's all manipulated. But you can still make more money, which doesn't mean anything. A good example also of that is what we call the Nuongelden with the energy company money. What happened in Holland is we privatized energy companies, which of course was a huge mistake, because of course the government lost a source of income. But they were sold for quite a serious sum. I believe it's about 9 billion euros they were sold. But those 9 billion euros are not spent. And this shows you exactly what I mean with the carbon credit system, is that as long as you don't spend money, nobody worries about it. So pension money, health insurance money, this type of money, this 9 billion. The bank can easily create it. The banks can easily create it and finance the energy companies' buyout against the government. So what happens is that the energy companies came together and said, well, we'll buy ourselves out of ownership from the government, and we'll go private in order to compete in the European market. And of course that competition is a complete fallacy because they're energy companies. Who cares if they compete? You know, I don't care. It's not our problem when energy companies compete. There's always one left over, or several, and we'll be able to buy energy from them. But yes, we have to compete. We have to be more competitive. We have to go private, and of course we need money to buy ourselves out of ownership of the government. So we'll give the government 9 billion, which is a credit that is extended by the banks according to the rules of the banks, which more or less is like a mortgage. They basically took out a mortgage on themselves and bought themselves out. But they have no interest in delivering. Let's say if that money then is in a bank account of the government and it's not used, then of course, you know, that's what they want. That's exactly the way they want it. Because otherwise, if you would spend that 9 billion on anything, you would be spending it on energy, and they would have to deliver energy for virtually for free. They would get their money back. The money they and they know that the money is not the issue. The money is not valuable at all. It is the energy that they're delivering, and they want to basically let the government keep that money, and it's sitting somewhere, and then produce energy and extract more money out of society. Deliver, let's say, money only should be used once if it's used to buy energy, and they just don't want to pay their energy mortgage. They don't want to be low income, low revenue, especially not as private companies, delivering energy against euros that they loaned out from the bank. And that's, you can almost imagine that's the deal of the bank. They say, well, or the deal of the energy companies from, okay, Mr. Bank, you will extend the credit in order to privatize us and of course get a fee in the process, which will make your employees very rich. But afterwards we will have to ensure, to lobby and make sure that that money is not used for anything, because otherwise we would be selling our energy and we would be actually paying the bill of this privatization, and we don't want to do that. We simply want to go private and make a fee in the process, and make sure that we become independent of the government, that we can cajole and play out European countries against each other with our energy policies and our behavior, and that's it. So capital and savings are not the basis of wealth, because you can see that demonstrated. There is capital in the banks, and it's not helping anybody. It is because you can buy energy with that capital, and that somebody can apply that energy in a useful manner, in a productive manner. So it creates products and services that are actually helping you and making your life more comfortable. How you create wealth, and it's almost, I'm almost starting to believe that there's really a truth in the fact that there's a group of people that simply doesn't want that anymore. It wants to have the easy energy, so the easy continuation of fossil fuel energy, and it doesn't want the majority of the people to enjoy any luxury at all. So it doesn't want to strive for solutions for the majority of people, just for themselves. But that's my response to Karl Denniger. He knows what makes him rich and what makes his business tick. And he can rant about it and rave about it. But he's not talking about general wealth or about general wisdom. I believe he's also a climate skeptic, so there you go. You know, it's very easy to identify people without a clue or with a special personal interest. I wouldn't listen to him at all anymore.